Hey there, I'm Anthony Romano, and in this video, I'm going to tell you the best tips for people who are very overweight, very obese, and how to use keto to solve those problems. So keep in mind, I'm a gentleman who's been doing keto for 10 years. I've worked with some very high-profile people, some Olympic-level athletes, Pan Am athletes. We got a millionaire in there, a lot of executives, CEOs, and businesses. And there's a lot of different types of keto you could use to get to your goals. Because basically, there's different types of keto for different purposes. And this is something that a lot of people mess up. And one thing that we are going to tackle in this video, which I'm going to try to make quicker, is the type of keto that very overweight people should be using to get to the bottom of their problem, basically, and lose the weight, but to make it easy. Because so many times, yes, there's a million different ways you could use a dieting strategy. You could use if it fits your macros. You could use fasting for weeks on end. There's so many strategies you could use, but the reason why I stand by keto for so long is because it makes the process easier if you do it the right way. It lowers your appetite. It makes it easier to be full. You're never going to bed gnawing your arm off. You always have more stable blood sugar. You're creating more metabolic health benefits because you're minimizing that insulin, minimizing that blood sugar. You're preventing yourself from being on a blood sugar roller coaster, and you're stabilizing things and creating so many other benefits. So essentially, that is the reason why a lot of people will want to use keto in general. But let's get into the reasons why people who are very overweight should use it and what they should do to fix that. Now, before we go into my intro, which I've shortened over the years in my 500 videos, you have to know that the Keto Shred program is on sale. This is my book, which I produced, which is an entire weight loss program, which basically spells out and gives you the exact approach to get as shredded as possible in the shortest amount of time. So it's actually laid out exactly for you to just fill in the blanks and actually just get to your goals and make your own plan. In addition to having all the information, all the best fat loss tactics that I've used with my clients over the years. So if you're somebody who's trying to get shredded, then this sale is on, it's taken effect basically until the end of June 2021. I've extended the sale, and essentially this is your ticket. This is the best thing I can offer for getting shredded as quick as possible. Next best to actually working together one-on-one. This book took me like a year and a half to write because I was way too perfectionist about it. So I'm telling you right now, take advantage of the sale, romanoketo.com, and get the Keto Shred program while it's still on the 35% off sale. This is the biggest sale I'm going to run until probably next year. So take advantage of that. Now let's get into the best approaches for people who are very obese with using keto. Okay. So, like I said, a lot of people who coach keto, who are keto gurus, will always say the high-fat keto approach is best. Now, you have to understand there are two main ways that you can put demand on your body to burn body fat, okay? Basically, you can approach hormones, you can lower insulin by removing carbohydrates, or you can lower the total amount of energy you're consuming by doing a calorie approach. Now, both approaches work, but people who do the hormonal approach, the keto approach, and are very overweight will find things a lot easier because they're basically going to minimize their hunger more. They're going to prevent excess cravings because they're stabilizing their blood sugar and affecting their body at the hormonal level rather than simply limiting the amount of energy coming in. So they're basically giving their body supports to make the whole process easier. And that is why keto is so effective. You see all these success stories of people losing weight from 300 pounds down to 150 or something like that, even if it took a little bit longer. And there are ways to accelerate that, which I work with specifically. I worked with one gentleman who was actually on a famous TV show for this, which I will not name. And he was a fantastic guy. Actually, I think a lot of my quotes are from him nowadays, so he's probably watching this and thinking, this guy, seriously, he got into killer shape, and it's the type of execution that not everybody has the willpower for. So again, we're talking about making this whole process easier. So somebody who's very overweight, let's call it 300 pounds. This is the type of person who is absolutely insulin resistant. Why are they insulin resistant? Well, I guarantee you they didn't get overweight by having bacon and eggs every morning. Even though bacon and eggs is the typical high-fat keto fat bomb approach, which I disagree with for fat loss, the thing is that they didn't do it by not eating carbs. There was carbs involved, and there were too many calories involved. They gained weight, and their body basically became insulin resistant, which means that it has to produce more insulin to actually store fuel. It has to produce more insulin to, it's going to take there's going to be more insulin swirling around when you're trying to lose weight, which is going to make it harder to burn body fat. It's going to make it harder to build muscle. Your body is less efficient at using its most anabolic hormone. So this is what insulin resistance / type 2 diabetes basically is when we're talking about the insulin perspective. So what do these people need to do? Well, what they need to do is they, rather than limiting the amount of energy coming in, because their body already has a very poor ability to use that energy and use the most anabolic hormone, which escorts and distributes that energy, what they need to do is they need to get better insulin sensitivity. This is the thing that boggles my mind, because even though, I'm speaking in generalities for this video, I can't tell you exactly what you need to do, and some people will prefer other approaches. But the point is, if we can tackle the hormonal problem and minimize the carbs as much as possible, this is the doorway which opens the best path for people who are very overweight to actually get to their goal and change their life from the inside out. So every person I work with who's had a very high number on the scale, what we have to do up front is do two things. Number one, get used to cutting out carbs as much as possible. So the easiest way to look at keto is vegetarian and carnivore. That's the simplest way for me to explain all the list of foods you can eat on keto. Vegetarian, carnivore. And basically from there, no grains, no starches, no breads, nothing. Okay? Now, granted, this will suck for 3 days, especially for people who are very overweight, people who are 300 pounds, right? That type of individual, you will find it harder to cut out the carbs for the first 3 days. But what you simply do is you eat as much food as you like, as long as it's keto food. And from there, that does not mean, I've had people who were so far down the line they've had to throw in, one slice of bread per day to start off, right? And then eventually we remove it. But the thing is that the best way to start is to simply muster up the willpower for 3 days to get your body into ketosis by only eating greens and basically meats and animal products whenever you are hungry. So what that means is, if somebody is hungry and they're very overweight, they're 300 pounds, and they've already had 3 meals per day, right? They're on to their 4th. What they should do if they keep continuing to feel hungry is simply eat, example, some deli slices, some high quality deli slices, not like the crappy industrial stuff. Just get some more keto food in, have a salad, right? Those types of things, what they'll actually do is they will slightly satisfy your body's craving for blood sugar, because again, we have to tackle the hormonal foundation here, which is the hormone and the reciprocals that are basically out of joint. They're out of balance, right? We have to tackle that imbalance first and straighten you out before we can start limiting the energy. This is why my approach with my clients works so well. So essentially, that person, they should just eat as much keto food as they want, regardless of calories. They shouldn't care about how much weight they lose in the first week. They should simply care about getting fat adapted. So from there, that's all they have to do. We have to target their hormones first. This is the very nature of their problem. So from there, eventually down the line, they can start to restrict some calories. Because again, calories still matter. I'm not saying that calories don't matter, like 90% of the other keto gurus might. No disrespect to the people who are putting out fantastic information in this community. But at the same time, you want to tackle the hormones first. And from there, what we have to do is, that's when you can start adding in these other strategies. You can start adding in more calorie counting, because I already know from the hundreds of people I've worked with that the people who are farther down the line, who are more overweight, they have more fat to lose, their biggest pain is that they do not want to have to measure out everything. It's very difficult. It's so much easier to just grab a handful of chips. And sure, the first week or so, they can grab a handful of macadamia nuts, and their calories are going to be skyrocketed. They're not going to lose any weight in the first week because their calories are so high, and they're eating keto, right? Because there's 2 ways to pull the lever here, to gain leverage on your body's fuel economy. That is what you are doing here. You can either focus on the worker itself, insulin, right, the main anabolic worker, or you can focus on the total amount of energy, right? That's the 2 sides of the coin here. So with keto, you're focusing on the insulin. You're going to lower that, and by lowering your blood sugar, eliminating carbs as much as possible, and simply getting adapted in the only way you can. It doesn't matter if you gain weight in the first week or 2. It does not matter. Just eat until you are only eating keto food, and obviously don't be binging on handfuls of macadamia nuts. Get nutritionally balanced foods. There's plenty of ways we can integrate this with you one-on-one. But that being said, eventually, once that person's adapted, it's going to be so much easier to go to sleep at night without having a handful of a snack. It's going to be so much easier for them to go through their day and not need to rely on food at every meal or at every 3 hours of the day, because their blood sugar is no longer on this roller coaster, which will incite hunger. So essentially, once they get to that point, that's where we can start to use the more, precise and managed dieting tactics, which means some weighing of some food, some reductions in some calories, some raising of some protein, supplementing with certain minerals, lots of other tactics that I use in my coaching. But at the end of the day, this is the foundation. So after you nail down the foundation, things will get a lot easier for you. And that's where you can start to integrate these other strategies. So this is where you can start to integrate fasting. You can start to integrate these fat loss accelerators, as I call them, especially in my Keto Shred program. I actually list out all the 10 fat loss accelerators that you can use that actually don't entail you to lower your calories necessarily. This can be, if I'm throwing out some clues here, this can be something like intermittent fasting and fasted cardio. This can be something like 1 meal a day, right? Or 2 meals a day, basically a shorter eating window. This can be basically raising your protein to put more metabolic demand on your body, because protein burns more calories to actually get digested and assimilated than fats and carbs do. So essentially, there's so many other ways to gain leverage on your body's fuel economy, and this is what weight loss is. But for people who are very far down the line, the reason why it's a lot easier for somebody who's 300 pounds to basically get shredded with keto rather than if it fits your macros is not only because it's easier to adhere to. There's no meticulous counting and so much more extra willpower required. Because by the way, your blood sugar literally represents your willpower. This is a great a topic I made a video on based on a book by Roy Baumeister called Willpower. And I talk about this in the Keto Manifesto. I highly encourage you to watch that video on my page. It's on the main cover page. Essentially, if you have more willpower at one moment, it's because your blood sugar is not tanked. If your blood sugar is tanked, it's very hard to muster up the willpower to do something. And people who are very overweight, it just seems easier to basically follow that momentum and be more sedentary, because your blood sugar goes up, you feel good for 20-30 minutes, and then you crash. And then you got to repeat the process over and over again, and this is what caused them to get overweight and become insulin resistant. Now keep in mind, anybody who is severely overweight is insulin resistant in some way. This is non-negotiable. All the research demonstrates this. But that being said, the best approach that I have found to work with people is to target that insulin resistance, grab hold of it at first, stabilize your blood sugar, stabilize your insulin more than it can be, and over time, that insulin sensitivity will increase. You will gain a better ability to use the tactics, and you will gain the willpower to actually apply them. Granted, we still want to apply them in a way that's balanced, that's not taking over your life. I don't want you to, I'm not telling everybody to measure their food at every hour of the day unless you're competing for a bodybuilding show, you have a vacation, a wedding, something like that. So at the end of the day, it comes down to nailing the foundations. And that's actually, it seems simple. It seems like I'm only telling you the fat adaptation part, getting adapted and used to the diet. But realistically, this is 90% of the job for people who are very overweight. Now, granted, it is a long haul, and this is why it truly is very satisfying to me. And in fact, some of the most incredible people I've worked with are people who've had so much weight to lose. So, it makes a fantastic story. It's something that, almost defines their lives in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, it makes the process a lot more streamlined. It adds so much more support to a problem that is very difficult to fix. And this is why, you don't have to worry about making your fasting window super long. If you're trying to lose weight and you're 300 pounds or something like that, you don't have to worry about managing every single calorie. The best tip I can give you is get keto adapted and basically do your best work to actually cut out the carbs and reduce your dependence on them. And the beauty of this all is that eventually down the line, once you get to a healthier body weight, once you get to more optimal health, you can start to integrate carbs again and actually get better metabolic flexibility and better ability for your body to adapt to different foods and become healthier in the long run. This is the main longevity benefit of ketogenic dieting and jumping in and out of ketosis. So essentially, it's not like you have to worry about giving up carbs forever. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to look at it that way at all. It's simply that when you're doing keto, you want to do it the right way, and the right way for people who are very overweight is to get fat adapted. In fact, it actually would entail more fats because those fats will act as hormonal precursors, basically to provide more testosterone, example for men, which is catabolic to fat tissue. It's anabolic to muscle tissue. It'll keep women's hormones in line a lot more if they have the hormonal precursors to build hormones, and they won't have any problems with their menstrual cycle or anything like that, in all the people I've worked with at least. So the thing is, higher fat keto would be a better approach actually for individuals who have a lot of weight to lose, because it's the easiest to adhere to. Now, keep in mind, inevitably, if you do high-fat keto all the time, you will eventually hit a plateau. This is just inevitable, and this is one thing that keto gurus overlook all the time, because they simply do keto for 2 years and they found they felt good with high-fat keto, but in reality, that all the information, most of the research on keto, unless it was done by Dr. Stephen Finney or Jeff Volek, realistically, it's going to focus on high-fat keto is the way to do keto. Not all of their studies are revolved around that, and essentially that is a great way to get people to adhere to the diet and to feel good, but it's not necessarily the best way for weight loss. It is up front to get you adapted, to get you to feel good, to get you to find it easy to adhere to the diet. But after that point, we want to leverage more of your body's fuel economy and reduce some of the fats. We want to raise the protein eventually, put more metabolic demand on your body to burn its own fuel, and essentially from there, that is exactly the methodology. That is the foundation for this. So keep in mind, there's a lot of other fat loss accelerators you could use. There's a lot of other supplements you could use. You can learn about those in the Keto Shred program, but realistically, if you want something tailored to you individually, I highly encourage you to reach out to me and we can talk for free on a call, and I'll help you get to the bottom of your situation completely free. But that being said, I'm Anthony Romano. Don't forget to go to my website, romanoketo.com. Leave me a comment down below. I'll do my best to get back to you, and follow me on Instagram, like the video, and subscribe. Peace.